Good morning. We'd like to welcome everyone this morning to the meeting of the Mesa Housing Authority Governing Board. Call that to order. I'd like to welcome Mr. Egan, who informed me this is your 10th year. Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda of the Governing Board is to conduct a public hearing regarding City Mesa Housing Authority's fiscal year 2013-14 Public Housing Agency Annual Plan. Mary?
Yes. We had our annual plan that commenced 45 days ago, and we're having this meeting just to complete it. We did not receive comments from the public, but we did have some comments from our Resident Advisory Board. Many of the changes that we're proposing from the administrative plan were done in December, and we proposed them, and you've already voted on it. So essentially is to provide your direction and of support for how we're going to be spending our money, but there's been no major changes since last year.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding this? Any requests to speak from the public?
No request, Mayor.
Okay. There being none, declare the public hearing closed. Next item is to adopt a resolution approving City of Mesa Public Housing Authority Annual Plan for fiscal year 13-14, authorizing the chairman of the board or as a designated representative to sign and submit the City of Mesa Public Housing Agency Annual Plan for the same fiscal year to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Do we have a motion? I have a motion from Mr. Egan. Second from Councilmember Summers. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is to hear a presentation and provide direction on a support letter for 15 project-based vouchers for the La Mesita Phase 3, provided they are successful in obtaining the 2013-14 Arizona low-income tax credits and if funding permits.
As you know, that we've come before you, and they've also come before you a new lead for the La Mesita project. Phase 1 included 30 project-based vouchers, and this is for Phase 3 for 15 project-based vouchers. This is a 20-year commitment from the city. The Resident Advisory Board were in support of this, and they are also present here if you have any questions on the project.
Okay, are there any questions? Councilman Richards.
Could we get a status update on their current project that's under construction?
Sure.
Tori?
Good morning, Council. Status update, La Mesita is well under construction.
Why don't you introduce yourself so everyone, we all know you, but other people may not.
Good morning, I'm Tori Taj from A New Leaf, the Chief Operating Officer. Phase 1 of the La Mesita apartments are under construction, and the 4th floor is being built at the moment. We are very excited. We are on schedule, anticipate to be completed with the project, and have residents in December.
Okay.
So it's all going very well.
Good. Any other questions for Tori? Thank you.
So I'm requesting direction on a support letter for this.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilmember Richards, second from Councilmember Kavanaugh. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Move ahead with the letter.
Thank you.
Here presentation, next item, here presentation, discuss an update on federal funding reduction related to the sequestration.
Well, we thought we would take a few minutes and just update you on what we know so far. We have been told by HUD and Washington to expect at least a 5% cut. We've been told by our local HUD office to look at a 10% cut. As you recall,
Are they keeping the extra 5%? I mean, gee.
I don't know what they're doing.
Now, when you say a 5% cut, effective when?
That would be with this coming year's funding ratio, the 13-14.
13-14.
Yes.
Not current years, but
Not
coming.
current year. We've already received our funding for the current year, and which will take us through the end of June. But as part of Council's approval, I believe it was in February, and we will be back in front of you for a final approval on May 6th. My dates are all messed up. Where you already approved a methodology for dealing with that. So what you have in front of you is a couple of handouts where we did some scenarios of both a 5% cut and a 10% cut, and what that means to both our organization and our agencies. Here's just an overview of what a 5% cut is to all of those grants. It's a pretty substantial cut. The 5% cut would be around $160,000. If you recall, in February when we were in front of you, we had retained some prior year funds that we did not allocate just for us, just something came up, an emergency pot. With the 5% cut, we would be able to cover everything except for almost $5,000 from La Mesida's Desert Leaf Supportive Services Project. The only reason that would have to go down is because it's in a category that has a cap of 15%, and we had maximized that in our allocations. So if our award goes down, our cap goes down. So we would have to take a little bit off of that one. That was the low score. And we'd still have $56,000 in reserve for anything else that may come up. If a 10% cut happens, we would have to use all of those reserves, and we would still have a shortfall of about $77,000. Using the methodology you've outlined, $5,000 to aid to adopt special kids, and all $25,000 for Desert Leaf Supportive Services would be eliminated. About $4,000 from West Mesa CDC code compliance would have to be reduced, and about $47,000 from Los Niños Hospital would have to be eliminated. Under ESG, Save the Family Rapid Rehousing, if 5% reduction would lose about $13,000, 10% would be about almost $27,000. However, if you recall, we did give them an additional $81,000 from last year's mid-year allocation that we got, so they're still above what they were anticipating or applied for. And home, because of how we're doing home now, we just have less money to award. There was no award. So on the 24th of this month, the Housing and Community Development Board will be hearing 4 cases that are requesting home money for their tax credit applications. So we will be analyzing those. We just will have less money. If we don't know by then, we will anticipate some type of cut and hold back a reserve. What this means from an administrative standpoint does affect our funding in our department as well. As you know, most of our department is funded, our staffs are funded with CDBG and grant funds. 5%, we would have to eliminate an office level admin type of position, and at 10%, we'll have to eliminate a professional level position. Now, I have held some positions vacant in anticipation of this, but we're running pretty lean, which means we have to start can't do business the way we have in the past. We really need to start looking at ways to streamline our processes, look at tasks that take the least amount of admin time but produce the most for us. So we'll probably come back to you this summer with lots of different ideas of how we might change or streamline some processes.
And I'm assuming that since the federal government has reduced the funding, that they also have streamlined their requirements for us. Would I be incorrect in thinking that?
Yes, Mayor, you would be incorrect in thinking that.
Darn.
Some of the things that we have done over this last year, knowing that our funding keeps reducing, is we have developed a monitoring tool. I know I've talked to you over the last couple of years that when we award this money, sometimes we have an obligation to monitor this for the next 20 years. So we've developed a tool to determine the risk of the agencies or the projects so that we can not monitor them every year, maybe every couple of years depending on the risk level, so that can help streamline. Here's just a list of some of the things we've done to try to streamline our processes, and we continue to always look at other things that we might be able to do to maximize our admin staff. Another issue we have coming up is on May 1st, HUD will look at our account, and we are not allowed to have more than 1.5 ratio of our current year grant in there. The rest should be expended. We're hoping to get close to that, but at this point, it doesn't look like we are going to make that for 2 reasons. One is La Mesida's homeless shelter. We expected to expend some of those funds. We have awarded them $1.5 million for that shelter. They have ran into issues with their environmental with SHPO. They are at a standstill working through all of that. We cannot do a contract till their environmental has been approved, and we cannot spend money until the contract has been approved. So that 1.5 sitting in the count, in HUD's eyes being unallocated, really is affecting that ratio. The other part that's affecting that ratio is, as you know, last year we did some major cleanup. We came up with $1.2 million in prior year funds that have been sitting in that count that we did allocate this year, but in HUD's eyes, that is sitting in the count unallocated, because it's not allocated until 13-14. So those two major dollars will affect that ratio. We have been talking with HUD, where at this point we don't know what will happen, but we believe we can get close, and we're processing everything we can to try to get as close as possible.
What's the time frame on this?
They will check it on May 1st.
Okay.
On the housing side, we're anticipating about a $500,000 reduction in the money that we use to assist tenants with rent, about $125 in admin fees. We did receive some additional VASH vouchers. Our VASH program is being ran so well that HUD offered us, I believe it was 25? They recommended 50, and we received 25, and we're being recommended for more VASH vouchers this year. Those are the vouchers that serve our veterans. We do have a vacancy in that department or in that area, and we are holding it because currently we are dipping into our reserves every month just paying for staff that we have. So it's not the best place to be. Some of the things that we are looking at to try to streamline those areas is HUD did do a complete seminar of different things we can do in our housing, in our housing program to streamline, most of which we have already incorporated into our practices, but there are a few things we're still exploring, one of which is our payment standard. HUD releases a fair market rents every year for our area. Basically, we can pay for anywhere from 90 to 110% of that, depending on what our admin says. Our admin plan currently says 96%. We pay 96% of that. And that says if there's a one bedroom, you pay this much money. We pay 96% of that. We could reduce that, but that's we have to analyze that because it's a balancing act. If you reduce it, have you made it to the point that it doesn't do them any good? I mean, we still need to help them with their rents, and so it's an analysis that we have to perform and are looking at that, and that would have to come back to you all for approval. We're also benchmarking other authorities, and HUD released a 2-year forecasting tool, which we have started to use as well, so that you can start to determine your utilization versus your assistance money, and the calculations for determining these are so complicated. So it creates a yo-yo effect in the funds, but we're looking at trying to stabilize that as best we can using this forecasting tool. Some of the things that we're looking at or have completed already in this area to try to streamline is we've gone to an online waiting application, which should open up soon. What that will mean is the applicant will input all of their data as opposed to our staff. Obviously, that will save us a lot of time. Some of the other things, instead of doing one-on-one training for our annuals or with our landlords, we do group session training now. So we continue to explore new technology with our system so that we can try to make it as efficient as it can be. So those are kind of where we are. Again, we don't have an answer at this point. If we have an answer before May 6th, when the annual plan comes before you for approval, we will try to outline what those changes will be and what that submittal will look like to HUD. Otherwise, we will go forward with as it was approved, clear back in February, and then with the methodology approved, and then we will just replace it later on once we finally get a final number.
Okay. Any questions for Tammy? Great. Yeah, Councilman Richens.
Just wanted to comment how much work they've done in that department to get it to this point. A lot of training, a lot of patience, a lot of forensic accounting, going through trying to figure stuff out. I just want to commend your department for the hard work that you guys done, and you and the whole staff down there has really done a lot of great work. I just wanted to express my appreciation for what you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Egan.
I can't leave without saying something. This is my 10th year with this distinguished group, and I appreciate your courtesies and everything during the time. I hope I can continue for a while. I noticed I got your usual letter saying unanimously you appointed me. I don't know if that's because of my talent or because there was no opposition. And I'm sure that some of you after the last election felt the same way I did. But seriously,
Well, I was glad to have you. Then when you call us a distinguished group, I have to question your judgment of character. But you're already in, so I guess we're stuck with you, and glad to be so.
I've been on the advisory board the same amount of time, and one time or 2 years I spent on the another committee of the city, and I learned one thing, that in my 60-plus years in Arizona, I've never heard anything good about Mesa. All the years I lived in Tempe, Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff. And in Flagstaff, I did serve on the city council, and I served on a number of commissions and committees up there. And I was pleasantly surprised in my 17 years living here what has happened to Mesa. It's a great place to live, and I think this council has been super. You've done an excellent job, and I appreciate that very much. I really do. And I just hope that we continue the same good relationship in the future. And the HUD program is excellent. Mary and her crew are doing a great job, and they take very good care of me, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, and thank you for the very kind words. But I have to remind you, we've already elected you, so so you can stop the campaign. No, thank you. We appreciate you because you do give the insight, and you actually bring a little class to this group. So thank you. We do appreciate that. Okay, with that, have a motion to adjourn from Mr. Egan, a second from Councilmember Kavanaugh. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Egan.